Welcome to the Junk Drawer Mamas with your hosts, Deena and Christina Queen. We are so glad you're here with us as we sort through the drama and the trauma of life's hidden struggles to uncover hope and healing with a side of humor on this roller coaster ride we like to call extreme parenting. Whether you're raising a child or a teen with special needs, dealing with challenging behaviors, tackling addiction, mental health issues, or working through the trauma associated with foster care, it's a lot, and we get it. But you don't have to do this alone. So grab a cozy chair, settle in, and let's take this journey together.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. We are on episode 31. I'm here with my beautiful co-host, Christina. The last episode that we did, we kind of ended that off on the issue of control. I was talking to you about an extreme situation that we had, and we kind of had to pinch hit and record on the same day that we loaded it. We were able to get that out to all of you guys, but now we really want to talk a little bit more about how we ended that, because we felt like there was more in depth that we could do on the issue of why do we control? Are you carrying a spirit of control? I know for me, that was definitely something for so much of my life and something that God's still working with me on. I'm sure Christina as well. I can tell you, yes, she is working on that.
Not me.
She is working on that.
No issues with control.
She's tiny,
Deena.
but she's mighty. So anyway, we're going to dig deep into the junk drawer a little bit more on the issue of control. And sometimes why do we control? Because I don't think it's always from a place of like, I want it my way or the highway, which is kind of what we were talking about. Sometimes it's from fear of getting hurt and all of that. So anyway, just welcome back. We just thank you guys for being here with us. And I'm actually going to turn this over to Christina and let her start this off because this is her favorite subject.
Yes, it is. This is definitely an issue that I've struggled with so much throughout the years and still struggle with it every day. From something as big as a huge life-changing, life-altering thing to something as simple as I want a kid's hair to be fixed a certain way, like releasing the control of letting someone else do their hair. I'm like, that doesn't look right. It's not supposed to look. That's something so little and so really honestly meaningless that still somehow I feel like I have to have some kind of control over that, because if I don't, then it's gonna, who cares? Who really cares to the point
Whether your
for me,
kid's shirt is backwards, I used that on the last
right.
episode. Who cares whether your kid's shirt is backwards?
Put the shoes on the wrong feet. Oh, that is like, I'm like, put your shoes on the right feet. That's crazy. I tell the kids, this is what I tell the kids all the time. I'm like, you're going to run crooked if you have, because I got one that always wants to put his shoes on the wrong feet. And I know he knows, like he's old enough to know, but he still does it. And I'm like,
Gracie still does
dude,
that.
Put your shoes on the right feet.
I make her put them on the right feet.
So do I. I'm like, you're going to walk crooked. I just kind of make a joke with him because I know this kid
How is
is
it not
like doing it because
it should cause pain.
Right. Well, and I know this particular kid does it because he wants to create some kind of drama around his shoes being on, and I wonder why
negative attention
he would
is
get
still
that
attention.
reaction. Yeah, probably because of feeling like he's got to be controlled and have the shoes put on. But yeah, that's definitely a struggle. It's from the littlest things to the biggest things in my world. I feel like daily, and I do feel like I've gotten better with it, but I have in no means arrived with handing over control. A good example of that for me, that both I've been called out by a couple of my kids on it, by my oldest daughter and my 17-year-old, probably some of my other kids too, but both those. I will be driving in the car and I'll be like, grab my whatever out of my purse, and they're like looking for it. They're like, I don't see it, and I'm just like, I'm telling them to do it, my hand's in the purse with theirs, and I'm like digging around as I'm driving, trying to watch her digging around. They're like, Mom, do you want me to get it, or you? I'm like, and I just can't seem to take my hand out of my purse. I'm like, let me help you. And it's just me micromanaging, having to have that control. Like, they're not going to be able to find it on their own. I have to do it. That comes from many a mom situations where it's like right in front of them and they can't find it. So I have to step in. But if we constantly think that that's always the way it's going to end up, then we're constantly going to treat it like that's, and then, we're never, even something as simple as, hey, grab this out of my purse while I'm driving, I don't seem to be able to release
let
control.
Them do it.
Yes, and I know that's bad, and I'm getting better because I've been called out a couple of times now, but I do still find myself digging in around in my purse, like, "Here, let me reach in there and help you." Because as a mom, what it feels like. If you say there's no multitasking, but we're so good at
There
not
actually is no
multitasking.
such thing as multitasking because you can't be fully present. She thinks
You
she
can't be
can, but you
fully
can't.
present, but
Trust me, I've
my
been with her
hand
and she's trying to
my
multitask. She's not present.
I mean, but, as
You might
parents,
get a
as
lot of things
moms,
done, but
we've got, yeah, I mean, you've got to just like, "Hey, I'm talking here, I'm doing this, I'm driving, I'm doing this, and I'm breaking up fights in the back seat while I'm driving." It's all going on around me. There's always
I've
multiple
learned to
things
go
to
with
do.
the flow with Christina. There are so many times we're having a conversation and I could tell she's looking at her monitor, she's looking at her phone,
Yep,
she's texting, and I'm like, girl, give me 5 minutes of your
yep.
undivided attention.
Yep,
I'm
because there's
multitasking.
always
No, you're
something
not.
else. Yes, there's always something else going on around me. Like as we're talking, I literally can hear
She's
the
looking at her kid's monitor. I
I
can
can
tell.
hear, yeah, I can hear the camera alarm going off upstairs. I don't know if you guys can hear, but I can
I can
hear
hear
it. And so
nothing.
I'm trying to disable it. So, yeah. Anyways, it's that control thing, right? That,
So
well,
let
if
me
I
ask
don't
you a
fix it,
question. Where do you think for you that comes from?
the lack
So
of
let's dig a
control.
little deeper in the junk drawer now.
For me,
I'm gonna
100%,
put on
I
my
can
coach's hat. Tell me,
absolutely feel
where do you
like
think this
it
comes from?
comes from my childhood and being raised feeling like I had zero control over anything that was happening in my life. My dad, particularly, was, he was really strict. He was raised. I mean, he did better than what his parents did, but doesn't it seem to be the nature? Usually, it gets a little bit better with every generation. And he did what he knew to do, and that was to be controlling, to have control over, if you don't have control, over the situation, then everything is out of control. And there was 9 kids in the house. His way of,
Wow.
parenting and dealing with it was to try to have control at all times. Well, in doing that, we always felt like there was nothing, even from the littlest things, that we had control over.
You've always been around big families. I don't know why I just realized this. You said there were
Yeah.
9 kids around. You've got
Mhm.
11 kids in your house right now, right?
Yeah,
Am I correct?
we had,
You've always been a part of a big family. So kids in big families do kind of get lost in the shuffle.
yeah, there was 3 of us. I'm in the middle, so I had a younger sister and an older sister. We're all about 18 months apart, but my parents raised, our 6 cousins also.
Wow.
They took his sister's kids, and raised them. So we were we were raised with, with a lot of, and we were called the 3 babies until we were like, gosh, I think I was 12 when they stopped calling us the 3 babies. And I'm like, gosh, this is getting really embarrassing to be called the 3 babies. But anyways, because everybody was so much older than us. I
Yes.
think the youngest one was 4 or 6
I
years
grew
older
up
than
being
me.
called the twins. The
Yeah.
twins. It's the twins. It's the twins.
And without realizing, it really does something to your identity, right?
Uh-huh.
You don't even realize it
That's true. I
doesn't
never
seem
really
like
thought
a
about
big
that.
deal, but like, yeah, you
Yeah.
come in pairs. Where's the
Mhm.
other half of you? You're missing.
Right,
you
right.
know, that's what it felt like. We felt like we were like just little kids forever, and that's such a
Yeah.
huge dynamic in my house. The kids are always like, "Well, when are we going to be a big kid?" Because
Mhm.
there's groups in my house. There's big kids, little kids, and babies. So the way it works is the babies don't care. The babies are babies. The little kids, though, are always striving to become a big kid, which does not happen in this house until you're around probably at least 11 or 12, depending on where your kind of maturity's at. But you shift into maybe staying awake a little bit later, or maybe having a little bit more responsibility and getting to do a little bit more. So there's that shift. And, talking about control, it starts from little, young. They don't have control over whether they're a big kid or a little kid. They don't
Yeah.
have, and we're always fighting. We're always fighting to have some kind of control over some area of our life and feeling like we have some kind of say in how things are going and how things are moving, and whether things are fair. Oh my gosh, I hear that all day, every day. That's not fair, but that's not
Uh-huh.
fair. And I'm like,
That's
here
interesting
we
that
go
you
again.
say that because I grew up where everything had to be fair because we
Yep.
were twins. I remember I've said this before.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to count jelly beans
Yep.
and make sure you had exactly this many red ones so nobody fought. So everything had to be fair, but that was very difficult for you to find your own identity in that. Everything had to
Yes.
be exactly the same.
Yep.
And so I became rebellious. Subconsciously, I wasn't saying like I'm going to be rebellious because I want my own identity. I wasn't really thinking that. I just wanted my own say. I didn't want everything to be perfectly even. But yet I did also grow up saying, this isn't fair. This isn't fair. But I think like when somebody tries to control your environment, whether it's how many jelly beans you have or whether we're all going to do this, there is a spirit in you that's like, I don't want to do that. I want to break away from that status quo. And I think that's what I did. My brother stayed like the good kid. And then I always felt like less than, although nobody made me feel less than. It was just
Right.
how that was more of a spirit that, that the enemy was trying to do. But I always felt like I was never good enough. So I always had to perform, I always had to please, or I just gave up. I'm like, nope, I'm the rebellious black sheep of the family. I
Yes.
might as well just do all this other
Yeah.
stuff. Now, I
And
wasn't
yeah,
consciously thinking that, but it ended up
same.
manifesting that way because
Mine,
I just
I
felt like
think,
I could never be good enough.
right, exactly. That's how, I started early. We've talked about this because we bonded over this, the thing of, being put on diets when we were young, you know,
Yeah,
and that started when, at 10 for me. And when
same. I was
you,
10.
right, and when you don't have control even over what you're eating, what you're allowed to eat, you don't feel like you've got control over like making the right choices yourself. You're not even given the chance to fail and succeed at it. That power is taken away from you. I'm writing for our anthology book for resilience, and I'm writing my chapter, and it's about getting married at 16 and all this stuff. And one of the things that, I was working on today is that dynamic of, you know, that being taken away from me, kind of the ability to decide, for myself, what I could and couldn't eat, and being put on diets from the age of about 10 to 16 when I got married. So when I hit 16 and I had control and no one could tell me any different, and it did help too, because at that time at 16, minimum wage at this time was like $4 an hour.
Yeah.
It was like
I
nothing.
started, it was 3.35 an
Right.
hour. I remember
So it
that.
was like nothing. So he was at 16, you're not making almost anything. And so we had, for the first time in my life at 16, I seen what a food stamp looked like. And they had these little booklets and they'd pull out like little dollars. And it was wild. But I felt like at 16, being immature too, that like I was getting free food. It felt free to me. You don't put everything into perspective at the age. So it felt like no one can tell me what I can eat, plus I can get it for free. And
Wow.
it was like an all out party. I mean, I was like, hey, nobody can control what I'm eating. And I put on so much weight. I mean, I put on my highest weight was 275 pounds after having two kids, and honestly trying to feel like I was in control of what I was completely out of control, obviously. And I didn't
Hmm.
have any control over what I was eating. I was just having a free for all because no one was going to tell me what to do now,
Yeah.
because it's my life and my rules and I'm in control of me. Yet I was completely out of control in that. And so I have had to go through so much, from the gastric bypass, having that, to surgery, multiple surgeries. My story, Deena. I ended
Hmm.
up flying over several years ago. Finally, after, gosh, I had my gastric bypass surgery a week before I turned 30. And gosh, how old am I now? 49. So 19 years ago. What you don't know is that when you lose all that weight, you're like a deflated balloon. I mean, you're just like, everything's just like, I felt worse after having it as far as my body image than what I did before. I ended up
Hmm.
finally 3, 4 years ago flying over to Mexico. I know it was a little risky, especially right after COVID. I still, it was so close to COVID. I had to have that COVID test when I got there. But I flew over there, and, as I told Deena, this is the way it's described. They cut you all the way around in a circle, like pull you up like a pair of pants, pull the bonnet, like the whole body lift. I had all of that done and all of that come back. And I still don't
Hmm.
feel like I would like to feel. I still don't look the way I like to look. And it's because I let
That didn't
myself.
heal the inside.
No,
It
absolutely
did
not. I
not heal
still
the
feel like
trauma or
that same fat girl that I ever felt like. Same exact
because
thing.
control is actually a trauma
Right,
response.
right. But because I thought that I was in control, I was
Hmm.
so opposite of that. I was so out of control. My whole life was out of control, to the point to where I had gained so much weight and destroyed my body, that even surgeries, thousands of dollars, surgeries, all this stuff is not repairing it. And I've told my kids, my girls particularly, I'm like, don't let yourself get to the point to where you have to go through everything you've seen me go through. This
Yeah.
is a lot of pain.
I never
It's
really
a
looked at
lot
that.
of,
So
yeah.
this is so interesting for me because I'm about to kind of expose myself. on my YouTube channel, in part of that, especially in Power Mom's YouTube channel, there's a Dina's Daily Dose that I do, and I kind of took it a little bit of a break because of this family emergency that we had, and just hard to keep up doing that. But I really feel God showing me that, or not showing me, telling me that I need to share my journey of my struggles with weight. Although I am at the highest level right now. Okay. So I'm at where you were at when you went to go get your surgery done, or the bypass. But what I'm saying is, like, why now do you want me to share all this? Because it's about that God healed my heart before
Yeah.
he healed my body. With all the years of trying to do the weight loss and weight gain and weight loss, my mind and my heart was never healed through that. So I'm doing this in a different way. I didn't realize until you just said this, because I've always looked at eating as shameful and
Yep.
wrong and bad.
Same.
Food is good or bad.
Yep.
Again, this could probably be another whole episode, but I'm just saying that I didn't realize that me eating what I wanted to eat was a form of control. I could eat what I wanted to. That was the one thing when my life fell out of control that I could control. But then there also came a lot of shame and guilt with making those decisions. And then I would just shove it in the junk drawer. Don't worry about it. I'm fine. It's not a big deal. And as the weight came on, it kept coming on more and more and more. Then I would
Yeah.
do some radical thing and lose 100 pounds, but nothing was healed. The control
Well,
was still there. So even
absolutely. Yeah.
restricting is a form of control. I will put my body into submission. I'm going to
Right.
control it.
Yeah. But
Wow, such
but
a eye-opening
we're
thing you just
completely out of
shared.
control in that, and parents without realizing that is one thing that I've said I will never do to my kids, and I never will not put one of my kids on a diet. And the reason why I won't is because I remember feeling when I was 10 years old, like, what is so wrong with me that I can't just be normal like my sisters? Like,
Mhm.
they're thin, they got to eat regular diet. They got to eat what they wanted. And there was something so wrong with me that, being what, 90 pounds at 10 years old, I was not obese, but I was chubby. I had some extra chunk around my middle, but there was, something so wrong with me that I carried that. I mean, I can remember when I was 16 walking around our neighborhood there and being afraid that my shirt was resting against my stomach and everybody would see my rolls, my
Mm.
little belly rolls. And, I was, gosh, what, 140 pounds, 150 pounds probably at 16. And I felt like, I was just so fat. So I'd ball my fist up and put my fist under my shirt and keep it pulled away from my stomach so it would not rest against my stomach so nobody would be able to see my
Wow.
belly rolls because I felt like there was just something so wrong with me. I was so terribly insecure, horribly insecure because it just gave me the mindset of there's something really wrong with me to the point to where I can only drink shakes. I can't eat real food like my sisters are. I can't put mayonnaise or Miracle Whip or whatever on my sandwich that I'm eating because that's too fattening. I've got to eat it like this without I can't put
Yeah,
salt on my
there's
food because
I could
salt
do a
will make
whole
me gain weight.
episode about eating
All this stuff.
disorders and stuff. That
Yeah.
was what I
And
have
I
lived
just
with
it
my
felt
whole
like
life.
I was so out of control. Like I would just sit and watch my sisters live their what to me, they were living their best life over there, just getting to eat like a regular person. I'm sitting over there feeling like I'm starving.
Uh-huh.
And I know my dad was not trying to be hateful or mean. He thought he was doing what was best for me because he didn't want me to be overweight. He didn't want me to have all the struggles that he had and all that. I know it was not malicious in any way, but what it created in me is such an insecurity that I still carry to this day. I mean,
Yes.
I cannot look in the mirror
There's
and,
a lot
and
of healing
say,
that has to
"Oh, I
happen
like
from
the way
that.
I look today." I've never ever felt like not one time in my life have I looked in the mirror and thought, "Wow, you look great today." Never.
Mhm.
I've never felt like that. And it's because there's an insecurity. Now, I'm more comfortable with myself now because my identity in Christ is getting rooted deeper and deeper. And that's the only way that shifts. That's how we regain control
Yes.
is by just letting that identity in Christ become a reality because all
Mhm.
the other stuff doesn't matter. None of this the other stuff that what are they gonna think of me? Oh my gosh, somebody's gonna notice that, what if I wear this tank top, they're gonna see my back fat. They're gonna see that I still I mean, I still to this day, you can ask all my kids, the only time I will wear a tank top with my arms sticking out is like when we go on vacation, we go to Florida and I get a little bit used to wearing a, bathing suit. And honestly, Deena, you know me now. I've got bathing suits that are long sleeve and it's a great thing because I can wear sleeves all the way down here. I've got scars on my arms where I had the arm lift because my granddaughter came up to me when I used to do it to my grandma and I felt so bad that I did it to my grandma. I'd play with that skin on her arm,
Oh my gosh,
that was
Gracie did that to me when she was
it's
little.
so
I was
not
like,
funny.
"Don't do that."
But my granddaughter, she comes up and smacks my arm, and I
Mhm.
remembered it triggered that memory of me doing it to my grandma. She's like, Mammal, why
Do
are your
those
arms like
scars
that?
that you look at on your arm, do they remind you of a time that you were out of control?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like that's the physical
But
sign
I think
of
though it's a
yeah.
facade though, even doing this, and you can still you can see the scars going up my arms, and I don't show that to anybody, but
You just showed it to all of the world, whoever
I
watches
know
this
that's
podcast.
extremely vulnerable for me. But honestly, that's it's still out of control. If your mindset does not shift, then that's still just that facade of, oh, well, now, I got rid of this, I got rid of that. And now I still can't stand in front of a mirror,
Mhm.
especially without my clothes on and be like, hey, you look good. I'm like, I see everything that I want to change. I
This
see
is just
everything
so
that doesn't look
interesting
right.
because my chapter in resilience, we're both published authors because of the first one that came out. Now we're on
Yeah.
our third already, and my chapter is my story with weight, my
Wow.
struggle with
Okay.
weight.
That's
And
funny because,
being put on a
yeah.
diet at 10, it's so
Yep.
interesting that you're saying all this because that something shifted. I went
Yeah.
from feeling like I never really thought of myself as having a weight issue, and I don't think I did at that time. It
Yeah.
was more my habits. Okay. I
Yep.
probably ate that way. I don't even remember what it was. I just remember not feeling like there was anything wrong with me to, okay, there's something wrong with me and I have to hide and be shameful. Now, again, this has nothing to do with our parents. So if my mom is watching,
Right.
it's we've already talked about this and
Right.
worked through all this,
Same.
but it is going to be
Yeah.
what I write about in my chapter. But there was a time where she said, you eat like a fat person. And again, a lot of times when a mom isn't healed or taking care of her own issues, we do put that on our kids. I have
Yep.
totally done that, especially with
Yes.
Gracie, because I'm like, I don't want her to be like me. So I will say stuff to her about losing weight and, and I'm projecting my own fear of like people making fun of her, but it's
Yeah.
my insecurities that's on
Yeah.
her. But anyway, it's a spirit that does that. Is a spirit that works through your insecurities and then it ends up becoming this generational trauma that gets passed on. It's not our parents that are trying to hurt us. They do the very
No.
best that they can.
Yeah. I do
Those
believe that. Yeah.
comments are because I don't want you to go through what I went through, the pain that I have gone through with being overweight. I don't want my child to go through that. But it
Same.
might
Yeah.
come out in the words like you eat like a fat person, but you don't realize how damaging that is to someone's
Yeah.
identity. And now you've got 57 years and you're, because that would have been 47 years ago. And I'm still cannot look at myself in the way I can now. I'm saying God has healed that part of me,
I'm still walking through healing on
but I
that
don't like
because
what I look like in the mirror. But it's
same.
interesting when God heals your identity first and then he heals your heart. And the trauma becomes like, I'm not letting this go past me. Like, this is where it stops. You can actually look at yourself in the mirror and not in this critical way, but you can say, okay, I don't like this, but I know that God is going to restore this. But it's interesting that with Gracie, like God knew exactly who to bring into our life. So if you're a special needs mom watching this, there's things in that situation that are devastating and heartbreaking. But then there's things that are such a miracle that you didn't even realize that it was. She's one of those kids that walks around with her belly hanging out all the time, constantly telling her, Gracie, pull your pants up over your belly. It just hangs out. It's like she's, definitely quite chunky. Again, because I'm the one that fed her, and that's part of my
Right.
story. That is part of my story in the chapter. I'm the one that put the food on her plate. I have to take responsibility that I am partly to blame for the weight issue that she has, but she has zero self-image issues. She doesn't look at herself in the mirror and think she's fat. She doesn't look at herself in the mirror and think my belly is, my shirt's touching, right
Right.
up. She doesn't. I'm always like, Gracie, you can't walk around with your belly hanging out. She's like, it's fine, mom. Like, what a great, solid sense of
Yes.
self-esteem that she has
Saying
that
that,
God
that's
is
yes.
showing me.
Yep.
But I want to protect her because I think people are going to make
People are
fun of
gonna
her.
look,
So I
yeah.
want to make sure that she's always
The
looking
exact same
good.
thing. I
That's
was
control. That brings us back to that whole
It
issue
is.
of control.
Absolutely is. I was looking at that the other day. One of my kiddos was walking around like that, one of my girls, and I was like, "Man, I could have never done that when I was that
Mhm.
age." And then I immediately shifted to, "Thank God she's that confident." I
Yes.
mean, I don't
Yeah.
let my kids go out of the house with belly shirts or anything like that. They just don't. I don't prefer. They can wear the short shirts, but I want a tank top up underneath it. I just feel like there's enough skin hanging out, and we don't need to give anyone else a reason to
Mhm.
look, especially when they're coming into young adulthood. And to each his own on that. I'm not mad at anybody that does, but I just my mind immediately shifted to like from I could never have done that because my confidence, my level. But thank God that she is secure enough in herself that she's okay with it, even around the house. One of the things I wrote in my chapter is that me and my husband, we were married for years, and when I say years, I mean years before he's seen me, let me see how I can say this, unclothed for the first time. I always had something over me because I was so insecure. And that
Mhm.
was I'm, like, thinking back to that was my little 16-year-old body, and I'm like, "God, what I would give to have that body back."
Right,
Right?
right.
Right? And I'm like, "Ooh, my whole 150,
I
160
would do
pounds,"
anything to
like
get back the body that I thought was ugly and fat when I was a
and
teenager. Oh, yeah.
yes. It's that it really does something, and I think if I could say anything that would make a difference and that I'm trying, to really work on currently, me and my husband big time right now, and some of the things we're listening to and learning is letting go of control. Whether it's little things like controlling every single thing, your kids wear. I'm still pretty particular about, we're not wearing that coming going out of the house, whether it's the older kids or the little kids in crazy outfits. But maybe even, just like giving them a few choices. Which one do you want to wear? You have a choice, but to give them more choices and let them feel like they have control over stuff. Because if they feel like they've never got control over anything, then once they hit that age, they are going to be
Yeah,
so out of control
that is
because they
true.
never because they feel like they got to get control over every I'm
Mhm.
controlling this, I'm controlling that, I've got control and no one's gonna do anything about it, and I've seen it in some of my older kids that I've raised
Mhm.
trying to figure out that control, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna do whatever I want," and it's like there's such a level of being completely out of control in that trying to have control over
I
everything, and
think
you can
that's the
see it.
premise for every rebellious kid. So I was
Right.
thinking about there was a kid that used to come to our house all the time. He was a neighbor boy. His parents were Christians, their family was, but they were so controlling
Yeah.
beyond. It was on the almost a form of abuse. And he was a very good kid. But anyway, they were super controlling. And then as an adult, he really got into a life of drugs and alcohol and just spun out of control. And I don't know if he's ever really gotten his life back on track, but my gosh, he was such a good kid growing up. And because of the constant control, he
Yeah.
became this rebellious spirit. And I think he actually got himself in a lot of trouble
Yeah.
as an adult, which breaks my heart,
Yeah.
but
And it's the tool. It's the thing with the tools. As parents, we use what we have. We do what we know, but but that can't be the end of it. We can't stop there. We can use
Mhm.
as an excuse our whole lives. Well, and we can use that as excuse when we're talking to our kids. Well, I did what I knew how to do, but it's our responsibility when we have kids. Just like if you're going to school or you're getting a new job, it's our responsibility to be educated as much as possible. And as a parent, education never stops to become a better parent. We should always constantly be striving to do our job better, to lean into the Holy
This is why
Spirit
we
and
say
do
so
that job
much that
better.
you've got to do the inner work. You
Right.
have to heal yourself.
Right.
That's the number
Parenting,
one
yeah.
priority as a parent,
Yes.
especially or a spouse. You have got to do the inner work because if
Yes.
you don't, you will pass it down and the enemy will use it to kill, steal, and destroy
Right.
your child's identity.
Right.
You have to do the inner work so we don't keep passing on this
And
generational trauma.
trying to control, as I've learned from having the older kids that's moved out, what happens is trying to keep control, constant control over everything that's going on because my kids have said, "Mom, you would have never let us do that." Oh my gosh, and I've learned with the older kids that me constantly trying to control and micromanage everything that they've
Mhm.
done when they were growing up just caused them to be the same thing I was. I was raised so strict that I wanted
My
to
older
rebel.
kids
I
say
wanted
the
to do
same
my own
thing.
thing. I was going to do what I wanted to do now, and you're not going to tell me what to do. So we
Mhm.
don't do justice in doing that with our kids. Honestly, and I think I've apologized to all of them, but if I haven't, any of you guys, absolutely 100% am sorry for being way too controlling. Hindsight, we recognize that as we get older and more mature. And this is the reason why you shouldn't have kids at 16. No. because
There's
you're trying to
multiple
figure out life with
reasons.
them. But yeah, no, honestly though, we do our kids absolute injustice by trying to control everything that
Yeah.
they're doing. It's not helping them. It's hurting them and hurting
Sometimes it
their
actually
future.
pushes them away because instead of raising up your child in the ways of the Lord and letting them discover their true identity, you almost force them to seek out from the world, especially if you're a Christian and you're raising your kids. And then all of a sudden, because that's the situation. Like, you know, my kids are raised in a Christian home, but if we were dropping the ball on that, then they start attributing God to that
Yeah,
kind of behavior,
absolutely.
and so my oldest
Yeah,
daughter, like, even in their biological mom, like, that was always the thing. She didn't wanna be a Christian because if that's what a Christian was, then I don't
yep,
wanna be like that.
yep,
I'm
yeah,
like, "Not all Christians are like that. I'm
yeah.
just telling you right now," but she has a
Well,
really hard time even
yes,
wanting to even believe there's a God because if there was a God, he would've saved us from this abuse
yeah,
and all of this
yeah,
situation, and,
yeah. Yeah,
so
well, and we want to control so much that we end up trading control because my kid's not gonna be disrespectful. So we end up trading that for the connection to their heart. We lose that
so
connection to
good.
their heart so that we can keep control over everything. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather have my kid's heart than them do exactly everything I then when I say jump, they say how high. But then when I'm not there,
Yes.
they're doing whatever they want. So, I would much rather them want to protect my heart in it and have that connection of that bond with them than for them to do what I'm asking them to do in front of my face and whatever they want to behind my back.
What a challenge that is, though, because like there is a balance to be had in that because we live in a world now, I think, that's unparented. There's so much now of this calm parenting and this, not, but sometimes that's too much of giving. So
Yes,
you do
a
have to
balance,
have
yes.
a balance and order. God is a God of order. I'm not saying discipline and punishment. There's a difference between discipline and punishment. But I'm just saying if you just let your kid discover the world all on their own without
Yeah,
any
no.
guidelines, whether those bumpers, now you got just as many issues as
Yes.
somebody that's been
Well,
controlled
God
too
gives
much.
us part of what comes with us being parents here is especially if we'll dive into it and educate ourselves even more is he gives us wisdom, he gives us discernment.
Yes. Especially if you
And
ask for it.
and the number one thing in parenting should be the number one rule to being a parent and to being a mom and dad is to first have control over ourselves and over
Yes.
what we're doing because so much of bad parenting comes from and so much of my world and what I live every day adopting and fostering kids was because the parent in some area was completely out of control, whether it's drugs, whether it was abuse, whether it's not, not being able to control their temper. Some area of their biological parent's life was so out of control that they lost their kids. They lost their
Mhm.
kids due to lack of
Yeah.
control. And if we can figure out getting control over our own over our emotions, over our just all of it, then we can teach our kids that same value that you have control over yourself. You don't have control over somebody else. You have control over even arguments. You don't have to stay in an argument. The beauty of an argument is you can walk away. You can, you don't have to participate in the argument. You can say, okay, well, apparently this is not going to be a respectful conversation. So I'm not going to have it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that can be a hard thing to do because I didn't grow up like that. I grew up like, "We're gonna have an argument. Let's do this thing." "Oh, oh, really? Okay. Well, how about this?" And, just the back and forth, but we can choose
Yeah.
to not participate in that. If we have control over our own we don't
Man, I
have
would
to
have
have the
been
last word.
backhanded if I did that.
Yeah. "Oh, I never did that with my parents." "Oh, I probably
Okay.
would have been knocked into next week," right?
Yeah.
No, and
My
I
brother
never
and
did
I
that with
did
my
not
parents.
argue very
Absolutely
much
not.
either. We
We
did
didn't
I
either.
think we bickered. My mom used to use the
Right.
word bicker.
Yeah.
When we were kids, we'd fight about stupid stuff. Who's
Yeah.
watching the bus? Get out of the bathroom, whatever. She said we were always bickering from the time we got on the bus to get off the bus but,
Yeah.
we never really argued where there
Yeah.
was, like, hurtful things that happened, only a very few
We are
times.
most of my job probably daily is referee. I
Yes.
am not
Well, with that
kidding.
many
It's
kids, even
all
if they're
day, every
really
day.
good, it
Yeah, and
is.
one of the things that I've heard lately in the thing I was listening to is I get to decide what I service I'm going to offer. And that service of referee is going to start costing people. If I've got to referee this fight, this is what it's going to cost. Do you want to
Yeah.
still have it? You
Now
don't?
remember,
Okay.
she's dealing with kids that have gone through extreme trauma.
Oh,
As
yeah.
a foster
Yeah.
parent, you don't know what you're getting and what these
Yeah.
kids are carrying with them when they
Yeah,
come into
and when I say fight,
your
it can be
family.
one child jumping on the other one and just laying into them.
Wow.
It can be all kinds of stuff, and we've gotten away out of most of that. Most of that's gone. Occasionally, somebody's feeling froggy and might do that, But for the most part, there is still a lot of refereeing, a lot of breaking up fights. And we've just been really concentrated on stop talking to the other person about what's going on. Come to me,
Yeah.
discuss it with me, and then I can help you solve the problem.
Yeah.
But the fighting back and forth, my husband heard this thing and we've been using this. We're going to start an auction. Okay. It's going to go to the highest bidder. So one
Their
kid will
stuff?
start. No, not their stuff. Whoever wants to win this argument
Oh my
is going to
gosh.
pay, is going to have the highest bid. So, also, oh, it starts at 10 minutes. And as soon as I say, okay, it starts at 10 minutes of chore time that you'll owe to be right, to win this,
Wow, that's so
to win
good.
this. And so
That's
I
a
have
good
said this,
parenting
I've said
strategy.
to the kids, I'm like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to start the bid 10 minutes. And they are done. They just
That's
shut up and walk
awesome.
away because nobody wants to win enough to give
Yeah.
20 minutes or 30 minutes. Oh, we're going to keep going. Now we got 20 minutes. Now we got 30.
Yeah.
They're like, nope, no, we're done. We are done.
Yes.
Yeah. So
What a great parenting tip. If you get nothing out of this podcast, that was a great
I know,
parenting
man.
tip.
He told me about that a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago. I was like, hey, that's working. That's really working. These kids are like, no, I don't want to bid. I don't want to do this auction thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing that, Danny Stuck always says, kids are geniuses. They'll figure out real quick what they do and don't want. And they're like, nope,
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
That is awesome.
So
Well,
anyways,
we're actually over time. So
yes,
I have
we
a
did.
question to ask all of our listeners. If you are watching right now, please drop a comment in the comment section or email us or whatever, because we are trying to create the episode to the level that you are wanting. For me, I could keep going. We
Yes.
have barely even scratched the surface of control because we didn't even really talk about how
We
this
talked
affects
about the
other
biggest
areas.
issue that we've had lack of control in for
Yes.
both of us, and that is our diet, our health,
But
we have both
I
struggled.
controlled
So
in leadership when I
right.
was running our outreach, and it affected my family and
Yes.
friends that I had and volunteers, and stuff. What I'm saying is, like, I want to make sure that we're being mindful of what our
Yes.
audience wants, because for Christy and I, we could go on for a very long time. I like the longer ones, but again, we're just trying something out. But it would help if you gave us your input
Yeah.
and to help us figure out
Yeah.
if you're one of those moms like, no, we want more, because one of our friends, Ellen, we're going to give a shout out to Ellen. I don't know if she's watching or not, but she's like, I always get upset when it's over. Like, wait, it's over already. I love that. That made my heart feel so happy. But anyway, I'm one of those people too. Like, I don't want to end this. This is such a great conversation, but just for the sake of time, we're going to end it here. And then maybe the next one we'll bring it back a little bit if we feel like
Yes.
there's still more to be said for that. But one of the things I want to leave us with is this scripture, because a lot of times I think control comes from fear.
Yes.
I would say it comes from trauma, but it's fear. You're fearing something. That's why you got to control the situation. Yep. So the scripture says that I did not give you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind.
Yes.
And also he gave us the ability to have self-control. So self-control does not mean controlling everybody else. It's controlling yourself, managing your own emotions and your own self. Okay. There's a little video that went viral a long time. There's this little kid in the back seat trying to buckle herself in, and the dad's asking, do you need help? She goes, no. And he keeps asking. She says, no, mind your own self. And she's like, mind your own business. I'm here trying to buckle my seatbelt. I just love it. People use it all the time. And like the sound of, no, never mind. I'm good. Mind your own self. And I just love that little visual. That's basically what it is. Like, we need to mind our own business and take care of ourselves and not try to project this on other people. So anyway, this was, again, I could go on, but we went a little bit over, and I just thank you so much.
Yes.
For being a part of this. And again, the privilege of being able to be on here and just sharing our stories, as raw as they are and funny as they are sometimes. Like, we just thank you that, you give us this opportunity to come into your life, into your living room, into your kitchen, wherever your car, wherever you're watching this, and just be a part of our world and us a part of yours for just a brief moment of time. So we love you guys. We thank you. We honor you. We can't wait to come back again and dig back into that junk drawer and see what God wants to expose, because what is hidden cannot be healed.
Yes.
Anyway, we love you guys. Have an awesome week.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us and listening to the Junk Drawer Mamas podcast. If today's episode encouraged you, share it with a mom who could use a little extra love and support. We'd love to hear from you too. Leave us a review and let us know what you think, or send us your ideas for what you want us to tackle in the junk drawer. You can email us anytime at junkdrawermamas@gmail.com. Stay connected with us on social media. Follow Deena at Specially Empowered Moms and Christina at Faith Through Foster Care for more encouragement and updates on our upcoming books. From two mamas in the throes of extreme parenting, we want you to know that you're doing a great job, mama, and you don't have to have it all together. But what's hidden can't be healed, so let's keep sorting through it together, one step, one story, and one laugh at a time. See you next time when we tackle another item in the junk drawer of life. Have an awesome week.